Yes, hello. I am James Rodens, and today it's the Wnr543. It's NXT Deadline. I'm not alone. Of pleasure to be joined by our resident NXT expert and New Japan demigod. It is Monty. How's it going, man?
Oh man, I'm doing good. Excited to be back for another update. Trying to catch up to date to NXT. So, it's always special to do these shows. We're wrapping up a pretty strong year, in my opinion, overall for NXT. So, to kind of get us on track and to keep up with what they're doing is always fun. So. Again, I always think back to when the product wasn't so interesting, and I thought about like just how, some of those days it was like, another NXT pod, and now I almost take for granted how consistently interesting. I'll at least say that I can't say it's the greatest wrestling or the greatest storytelling, but it is at least some of the most interesting wrestling weekly now. So it's always great to do these shows about NXT.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like I said, the NXT update is always guaranteed laughs, but now it's actually good to watch the shows as well. It's weird. We'll talk about it on reflection. Like I said, the curtain falls on another year for NXT. But weirdly enough, Monty, as well, this episode is the unofficial 500th show of the feed of the WNR podcast. Not all WNR podcasts, but just different. There's a couple that we did that just we'll never talk about. But again, to kind of do that, and again, 5-4. What is it? I don't even know what we are today. What are we? 5-4-3. So this is the 600th show on this feed. Sorry, so I can't even get that right. It's been so long, But
so much yapping.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's the thing, people go, "Oh, do you remember NXT from years ago?" I probably would, but then you probably listen to yourself on the pod and go, "I don't remember saying that." So again, it's always.
Oh yeah, man! Don't listen to me, man. Apollo Crews and Apollo Crews and Bo Dallas supposed to be 2-time WWE champions of pieces by now. If you go back too far from the way I was thinking, so I can only imagine what. Oh man, I can imagine what Adam Cole's supposed to be under the WWE banner for you if you go back and listen. Or where Baron Corbin supposed to be.
Like we talk about, I mean, Adam Cole's debut still sits with me. I still remember that. But like you said, Baron Corbin, very wrong about Bianca Belair. But we've had more hits than misses, I would like to say, and it's definitely going to be hit today as well. Yeah.
Again, I think that's an underrated alley of talking about NXT too, is that we're at the early stages. So even people that look like home runs or don't look like home runs right now, who knows what we'll be talking about by not even just a few years from now, the end of this year. Because, think about what we were talking about with Lash Legend, maybe just a couple years or last year, and where we probably think about Lash Legend now. It's crazy what a year of NXT can do.
Yeah, without a doubt, But we've got 3 episodes and deadlines, so we're going to get to it. When last left it, we had spots left to fill at the Iron Survivor match at Deadline, so let's fill them. November 26th, after recap of last week, Rich Holland mockingly came out to Chase You music. He started with "I Told You So" before delivering a warning to Trick Williams for Deadline. I mean, we're going to talk a lot about Rich on this, but again, got the big victory in the last update with Chase You. We expected something like this, but again, was the reaction enough for what Rich has actually done?
I give NXT props, and when you watched it or you listen to the crowd, you would think that he did. He almost equate their reaction to what the New Day did to Big E almost. At least the way they were trying to pretend or boo him out of the building for what he did. But do I think it has a similar impact or something like that? Maybe in the context of NXT, but like I kind of mentioned before, and I mentioned that about a couple of things that we kind of see going on in these episodes is, Chase You kind of ran this course, and I was hoping somebody like Duke, somebody I actually thought was interesting, could be the one to get the heat for ending Chase You or finally turn like we all kind of expected it to happen. But that didn't happen. So I don't want to equate it to maybe that reaction. I damn sure don't believe ending Chase You means, next NXT champion. I can see that. You know what I mean? I do think it's kind of ridiculous to jump that far. But at the same time, I give him props for at least coming out. They try to do it. By the way, they love doing this, by the way, with guys they don't really think can talk. They love doing the whole Roman Reigns after beating the Undertaker, where you just come out, you get the reaction of the crowd, let the reaction of the crowd do the work, and then they say like a phrase and drop the mic because we don't believe in Ridge Holland as far as giving us anything more than Trick, I'll be seeing you. That's all he said. It's like, I'm like, oh, okay. So they even know nobody wants to hear him speak or whatever. So, yeah, again, I give Ridge and I give Sean and Ridge and everybody in NXT props for trying to make it work because I see the effort is there. But do I believe, and do I think the masses who watch NXT believe in Ridge Holland and being a threat? No, I don't think taking out Chase, who lost to pretty much almost everyone. I do not necessarily think that makes him the biggest killer on NXT. I know that's what they're trying to do, but no, I don't think that's what we got from this.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem. You talk about a legitimate threat to Trick, and you think with Ridge, you go, I don't care what you've done with Chase. Like I said, you've not... The people you've beaten is not enough for me to think that you are a threat. But again, it might, as we saw with the booking of All Ego as well, there could be a surprise in there just to kind of keep it fresh, But Trick would then be a terrible champion.
Right, exactly. I mean, I think the reason why you could get away with that because it was a multi-man match and because it did wonder, because Ethan Page was who he was, he still he didn't really establish himself yet in NXT, but I think he had a fanfare coming into NXT, and I believe the way it was executed and the type of champion was different. But when you're trying to come in and you're trying to be intimidating or you're trying to have this reputation, I just think taking out Chase U and taking out Andre Chase and then getting a title shot from it. I mean, it'd be different if he took out Chase and then, for example, got in the Iron Survivor, then maybe we have something to talk about. Maybe you could be like, you know what? He took out some credible guys. We may not like him in this spot, but he did earn it. But just throwing him in there to give him something for Trick, like you mentioned, and still not really coming off as somebody. Because again, I like Andre Chase. I think a lot of people watch NXT probably got a kick out of a lot of the stuff we did. But let's not act like Andre Chase was a dominant wrestler, a wrestler that we all looked at as a threat. He lost a lot. He took his fair share of lumps. And that underdog mentality, I mean, he was an underdog pretty much for his entire run, even though they were champs at times and stuff like that. So when you take that into consideration, I think that does undercut a lot of the heat they were trying to build here. But again, like you mentioned, Jay, I do think you always kind of have to, I think that's something else. You kind of be like, well, anything can happen. And I think when you're relying on that to build a new champion, that's not really a strong contender to me.
No, well, but then again, you can't put it past Sean to get a title change at takeover and change it back on the Tuesday. So, but again, it'll be interesting to see. And like I said, we'll talk more about Ridge. But Iron Survivor-wise, we had All Ego, Ethan Page versus Axiom. And he fought through the tough events of Axiom and caught him on the top rope for an Ego's edge to win. After the win, Nathan Fraser interrupted All Ego, and this led to an impromptu interview followed by Wesley and Javon Evans, all claiming future victory. The tag team division funneled out to remind the champions that everyone wanted a shot. We got a brawl, obviously, because this would be NXT without a brawl, into the parking lot. There was a car was destroyed. I always think that's a rib on someone, even in the office or backstage, that they don't like. They go to his car and do it, because you know what happened back in the day. Anyway, the brawl continued, and Ava announced a number one contendership battle royal. But oh, and all Monty, Axiom's mask reminded me of a cream egg. Help me out.
Yeah, I definitely seen this, especially when I saw the freeze frame photo of it. I definitely get why you were there.
That's like a free frame to everybody.
Yeah, he actually sent that into the chat and like, yeah, look, this remind you of her like, yes, James, yes. But what I will say is about this is like, I love NXT, but this is one of those things that I always can do without. Mostly because at this point, it's like, I don't really have anything for you guys as a tag teams So instead of booking a tag division and giving us individual storyline, let's just lump everybody. Everybody wants the titles, and let's just lump them all and throw a brawl in. Because at the beginning, the Iron Survivor type element of the promo was fine. I didn't mind that. That made sense. By the way, I thought Axiom and Ethan Page, really good match, really good TV match. I think to get that type of quality to kick off a show, like that's one of the reasons why I really enjoy NXT sometimes, because you never know when they just throw two guys out there who are really, really good and could just start off a show. Like the fact that NXT is deep enough sometimes to where you can be like, whether it's the women's or men's division, you can just start off a show a really good match for television. I always kind of get a kick out of that when NXT goes in that bag. But I thought the stuff after is when it turns into some of the, not the downsides of NXT, but definitely some of the annoyances about NXT, because I just don't necessarily know. I get it. We set up a battle royal, so that's how you explain the brawl thing. But I really wish we had more of a focus, because as far as establishing tag team threats or credibility, giving credibility to somebody other than Fraxium. And I just think it's better ways to do it than just throwing everybody in a battle royal or throwing everybody in a brawl. But like I said before that, I thought the match itself was excellent. And I think having the Iron Survivor challengers so far kind of do their thing and talk it out was decent. You just could have cut off the rest of it for me. But I guess again at this point, it's like the NXT parking lot. Throw a brawl in or have a battle royal to determine a title contender. They're becoming NXT tropes.
Yeah. And the thing is, though, I would have liked to see an Axiom mixing up with maybe Fraser. Like I said in the match, but I think Sean knows how to deal with Axiom, and we've seen this obviously last year with his breakout performance at Deadline.
Yeah.
In the Iron Survivor match, what he's done in tag division, like you said, he's one of the very few that if he's put in there with someone, he's going to probably get a good match out of them. So this is. But again, we've loved him for a while.
At this point, if you have a bad one with him, even Frazier, in my opinion, but really, if you have a bad one with Axiom, I'm really looking at the other guy sideways,
Yeah.
Like, man, you really can't you really must not be that good if you can't get a good one with Axiom.
In the locker room, Ren Sinclair asked why Vice was obsessed with Parker, which did not set well. They're setting up a match. Lola Vice beat Ren Sinclair pretty easily afterwards. Vice challenged Jada Parker to an NXT Underground match. I'm gonna plead confusion, Monty, right, and hope you believe me. I got so confused about whose match was the NXT Underground and what happened in the match previously, but we're going to get onto that. More importantly, backstage, Ashante Lee Adonis admitted he texted Nikita Lyons because he texted everyone, which did not sit well with Carmen Petrovic. All I thought, though, Monty, was boobs. And I don't know if I'm a child because of it. You know what I mean? I'm
gonna be honest with you. Like, it was this angle for me ain't the most interesting. So I'm with Nikita dressed that way. It's kind of hard to not just kind of drift off
and
lose focus.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Because this is very high schoolish or very, very youthful, and I talk about being young by comparison to y'all, but I'm way past this stage in my life, so this angle don't really do much for me. So I'm with you. My eyes started to drift away. Also, I'm with you. And I'm gonna be honest with you, as a man who have been in this situation before, I must tell you, what the hell? No, I got the one. Screw what I was about to say. Why the hell is it like a dating lounge back? Like, did you realize that everybody was sitting at these little tables like this was a? Where were they? Like,
we wondered why they were like rabbits in NXT, and this is why, because it's this blind date or whatever it is.
Right, they got like a date set up down in Orlando. Like, what the hell that got to do with training with the Performance Center? No wonder, like you mentioned, everybody's linking up.
Well, just think the married wrestlers now are not allowed to go to the Performance Center because it's like, no, you're not. If you go there, all of a sudden Lola Vice or whoever, could be Rizzo. She was told by Tony D that the family was busy with business and would not come out for the North American title match where he faced Sean Spears. Spears went after the injured knee of Tony, but despite the best efforts, the Don picked up the victory with a spinebuster. Afterwards, Spears, Brooks Jensen, and the third man, Nico, destroyed D'Angelo. Rizzo looked on helpless. Nico, I really don't like Yo. I don't know about Sean Spears. Like, it just...
Yeah.
Does he know what he's doing?
Yeah, week to week it seems to be, or angle to angle, it just seems to be confusing. He hasn't really had a main focus since he kind of re-debuted, and I thought he was taking like a leadership role to help out. Maybe which one is that? That's Brooks, right, or Jensen, whichever one he is.
Brooks
no, his
Jensen
name
is
is
his
Brooks
name.
Jensen.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm right. Okay, good. Okay. Nice beard, by the way, Jensen. You look a little, at least different than the idiot cowboy. So I think I was expecting more of a leadership role, and I guess that's kind of what we're getting here. Like, he seems to be formulating something. I do think it's a more effective way to kind of debut talent. So I'm just like you, James, where I'm like, oh, okay, well, he's with Sean Spears and those guys, and they don't look. The thing is, they don't look interesting at all. Compare them to all the collectives that's kind of forming or have formed in NXT, and it's just like, oh, well, they're just there. They just exist. They don't seem that interesting at all to me. So we'll see maybe if they can establish something, some type of niche to at least give us something. Because you have the family, you have the catch crew, and you have OTM, and you have other collectives that are seemingly together, and they at least have something that you can latch on to make them different. So far, they don't have much of anything. And then the match, I think another thing, too, that's kind of frustrating with Spears is like, all right, if they don't really know what they're going to give you, or they're slow burning whatever you got going as a character to death, at least be interesting in the ring. And I just thought this North American title match was boring, which is not really what you want to see for something that wasn't even that long. It wasn't even that long, and I was like just disinterested. I mean, all right, figure 4 leg lock because he came to the match with the knee, but other than that, it wasn't really much of anything to latch on to. And then we got the kind of lackluster. I don't know if that was a debut or just. I guess it's not really a debut because he's been around, but we got this kind of lackluster ending now to where it was like, okay, well, it's just one of those. Okay, move on. Let's go to the next thing type of segments. And I think for Sean Spears at this stage in his career, he's gonna have. I feel like he needs to be adding something, because if not, he's just taking TV time and ring time from people who need it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, without doubt. We saw Andre Chase, and he packed up his stuff in a box and walked away from university until a mystery figure called out to him, and it made me think this is not over. So, I mean, what is it now, Monty? What was it going to be? Was there a contract clause that someone found? Is it, I don't know, Ridge is illegitimate? He's been thrown out of the country. Like,
I don't know. I really just hope the Chase U part of it is over, because then this whole entire push of Ridge feels really forced and unnecessary if you can't even end the faction. So hopefully that part is over, and they're just trying to come up with something creative to give him. Now, what is that? I don't know. Like you said, they were kind of hiding or being shadowy about it, to the extent to where it's like, are we finna get like the paralysis demon version of Andre Chase? He's gonna join up with Wendy or whatever they have going. I don't know. Like, yeah, you never really know with NXT. It can be really goofy, or it can be something to where we're like, oh, just doing this over again. So I don't know. Hopefully it's actually something interesting. I hope it's something different, because, like I mentioned, Chase U, as interesting as it was, or as fun as it may have been on a weekly television statement, I think me and you talked about it. It had kind of ran its course. I don't know how many peaks and valleys you can go to. You gambled the university away. You did this, you did that. You know what I mean? So it's like so many different angles that we went through with that run. I just think it's over. So it's interesting to see what they decide to do with Chase going forward, though.
yes,
because I think that's the thing. You can go either way.
Yeah, how many redemptions do you need? Like, how many times do you fuck up? It's like, look, mate, everybody deserves a second chance, but this is like 5th or 6th. My hope, and I think it will suit him, a postman gimmick. I don't think we've seen that And you know it's going to work. Little cap, little post letters, throwing letters to the fans as he comes out. Like, yeah, I'm there.
You know what? You know what would be the kiss of death though? The kiss of death would be if he come out there in regular like 1980s trunks and he's just Andre Chase the wrestler. Then you know he's probably gonna get released.
Yeah,
If they don't have anything,
no quarter
like,
catch crew.
Yeah. It's over if he's just out there in regular trunks and they can't come up with anything. Yeah, it's done.
We get the Iron Survivor qualifier, Julia versus Kalani Jordan. Jordan brought the fight, but the Beautiful Madness was more experienced than an opponent. Northern Lights bomb sealed the victory. Backstage, Ava announced a fatal four-way match for the men's and the women's, so didn't really matter then about losing. But no, to be fair,
great always the last chance. Huh?
Yeah, like you said, Julia and Jordan. We know how good Julia is. Like I said, they're trying to, as we mentioned before, future updates. It's about bringing an opponent up to your level.
Yes, exactly, and that's what always interesting to me because I love Sarai, but for example, I love her in NXT, but some of the criticism that outsiders or people claim from Sarai was that she was good, but NXT was in a time period where a lot of the people she was working with weren't that good, and they didn't think that Sarai was able to kind of elevate. But I don't necessarily think it was about that. I mean, when you fight Mandy Rose, and she don't, you know what I mean? It's like, how much further can we pick this person up? So I just it was cool to see Julia in there with somebody. And Kalani, like I mentioned, if there's one thing I don't think she needs, at least so far, she needs more experience. But in the ring, she seemed to have it down, especially athletically. And I thought this match was a very good, really good progression from her, in my opinion, from a selling standpoint and just from an overall style. Like she really wrestled a Joshi style and then also incorporated what she does best into it. And I think that's what I like the most about it. And like you mentioned, Julia being who she is and then still being able to hit hard. I also like some of the forearm shots and the knee and some of the physicality was still there. And that was what I was looking for. I was like, could some of these, athletic women, gymnasts that WWE has invested in, can they take a punch? Can they go in there and work? Because if it's one thing about Joe, you can attest to this with people like Io or Oscar wrestling with many injuries over the years. Like they are very tough. They're cut from a different cloth, coming from Japan and coming from that Joshi wrestling style. So it was really cool to see Kaylani be able to not only hang, take a punch, deliver a couple of shots, but just give a compelling contest in there. And like you mentioned, it's important for Julia because, yes, you can look great, but if you only look great, then you're only doing a part of your job. You got to be able to make even these talents that may not have the experience that you have look great also. And I thought this was a great example of both women matching their level. And this was just a TV match, so I can only imagine with how good or how great their chemistry could be with more experience. And like I said, I felt like for some of the things I saw from Kaylani, for example, she had to have experience. Maybe she watched a couple of old Julia contests to kind of match some of that energy because she really did a good job or a better job than maybe I came into that match expecting of, flowing with Julia's style.
Yeah, without a doubt. We mentioned Ava's announcement when she took an inadvertent shot in the tag team chaos when Eddie Thorpe tried to talk to her. Shawn Michaels threatened Thorpe and told him to leave. I mean, Eddie, I said, change your attitude a little bit. Not to start hitting women, all right? The Jimmy Snooker gimmick won't fly nowadays, all right? I mean, this is just someone, like, when you give advice and it's like, hey, no, Eddie, you've taken this wrong.
You really took that the wrong way. You took that completely out of left field. I just love Shawn getting physical. It's like it's one thing to make Shawn go out there and black out for a second. It was Ava getting hit. I just loved it. Whatever. I'm petty though, Jay. So I'm like, see, whatever beef Shawn had with Dwayne back in the day, he ain't stepping on them toes now. Don't mess with Dwayne.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Don't touch the chosen.
He was
one,
mad.
NXT, yeah. Trick Williams promised that Ridge Holland would not win the NXT Championship because it would mean the end of the brand. He was all right then he knew. Holland said he didn't care if NXT was destroyed. He's right. He doesn't care. Eric Bischoff interrupted via satellite to advise both men he would be at NXT next week and would stir the pot. Are they trying to kill Trick Williams? If it's not Bully, it's Bischoff. What the fuck is going on?
That's what I'm saying. I saw somebody say something about, like, I've tried to give Trick Williams his chance this year to win me over, and I'm just not a fan. And I'm just like, see, this ain't fair, man, because look at what he had to deal with. Like, you go from Melo and Dragunov. I understand it's easy to be like, oh, he was carried by those talents because they're great talent. But you go from working with Carmelo Hayes and Dragunov to, and no offense to Ethan Page, but then you have like an Ethan right below that, and then you go all the way down to the Ridge Hollins and and then you giving them a Bully Ray angle, and now we got to throw Bischoff in, which I think is very poetic that segment was about killing NXT off, because based on what his appearance is going to do to the ratings, which we get there, they seem to really be trying to kill NXT off. Oh, man, I don't know what it is, bro. Like, I maybe they think he's so popular that he can withstand anything, but, like, yeah, if anybody, if you want, Trick Williams' current run is being defined by who he's working with, in my opinion. I feel like it's very unfair to judge Trick harshly because he's been given stuff so far to where it's like, I don't know how you make this work. Pete Dunne has been pretty much the only bright spot in between all of these. And it's been Ethan and Pete Dunne. Everything else, I don't know if anybody can make this stuff work.
Honestly, it's like someone's playing 2K and just putting in random people, because we've got X-Puck promised to appear at the front center as well. Just like, X-Puck? What? What's that?
What is going on?
With Bischoff. What the fuck? Anyway, Women's North American Championship, Fallon Henley versus Tatum Paxley. Jane and Nix mocked Paxley backstage, saying she would never be a champion. In the chaos, a mystery woman picked up one of Paxley's dolls. Paxley took over the action early in the match as well, but got distracted. Paxley got close, but a low famous sealed the win for Fallon Henley. Afterwards, Fatal Influence beat down Paxley until Gigi Dolan made a return, saving Paxley and clearing the ring. I was surprised how good the match was, but I guess they are working every day, like we spoke about. This is something maybe we don't realise. And it's great to see Gigi, We mentioned this before. It's great to see her back.
Yeah, it's great to see her back. She kind of had, I know they didn't really explain on NXT television what was going on. I'm sure I saw somewhere it was an actual injury, of course. But, yeah, man, it was great to see her back because, like, we mentioned that how, she just kind of went missing after the, really in the middle of the Ariana Grace story that they were trying to tell at that time. And, Ariana's also went missing, by the way, recently. So it was interesting to see her come back, and I think she fits really in well with someone like Tatum, which is interesting to think about when you think about Tatum's laundry list of partners at this point. She runs through them, but I actually like this fit because I feel like they kind of right now she needs a friend, but I also think this is helpful for Gigi because her and JC just can't escape each other, whether it's enemies or as partners, obviously. But I think she needs something like this to get her feet wet in her return, and we'll see where it goes. I thought the match was also really good, like you mentioned. Fallon Henley, by far the best wrestler in that group. At this point, Nix definitely needs more experience and just going to have to show us something. And at this point, I don't know if JC Jane is much more than what we've already seen from her, basically being more of a tag specialist type of wrestler at this stage. But Fallon Henley has shown that she's definitely the most well-rounded and definitely the most skilled out of them. And I think at this point, Paxley's improvement is one of the things that I'm not going to say shocked because I always saw the potential with her athleticism, especially doing the 450 as easily as she does it and all that type of stuff. But she's gotten really good, too. And it's kind of cool to see her come together in the ring because you can already tell with the reaction of the crowd there in Orlando that her character has gotten her a heightened standing And so it's good to see that the in-ring work is catching up with that character work too. So yeah, I thought this was a plus overall. And I also thought it was cool that you don't really get this often, but I hope now that we have women's mid-card championships on Raw and SmackDown too, that we get more women's mid-card main events in and off these shows. Because I thought that was kind of cool anyway, just to give this spot to them, and then they went out there and they gave an entertaining main event.
Yeah, without a doubt. On to the next NXT then, December 3rd. It's the go-home show. We started with a Women's Iron Survivor Challenge Last Chance qualifier. It's a mouthful. Ren Sinclair versus Jada Parker versus Kalani Jordan versus Cora Jade. In the chaos of the final stretch, Vice accidentally knocked out Sinclair with spinning back fist that was intended for Parker. Sinclair fell onto Cora Jade for the pinfall. Again, a bit of a surprise result, Monty. And again, you could argue we've seen this recently, but I mean, I don't know. I thought it was fun because of the surprise result.
Yeah. I think it was a great way to do it. Like you mentioned, coming into it, you probably expect, maybe Kaylani or even Jada definitely had a case. But I figured her and Lola. I figured Lola would play a factor in that. But the way it was also the way, like you said, yes, we have seen that type of finish literally this year. But I thought this one fit. It's the same thing that kind of happened. The reason why it worked is because it fit the character so well. Ren has just been one of those people so far who's also kind of hiding her standing with her character work. And when she's not getting herself into trouble with her mouth, she also seems to be the type of person who's in the wrong place at the wrong time. And that was kind of one of these situations. And I just thought it was well executed, and then, like you said, the shock that it was of giving, instead of her being pinned, she's the one who gets the opportunity at Deadline. So I just thought it was cool. I really didn't have a problem with it. And like you mentioned, it was really well executed. And I think if you're going to do this, even if it is something that we've seen, a card that we kind of seen them pull, make it make sense. And I thought with the interference, and I thought with the way it was done and just Ren's character work, and if it was anybody who's going to win that way, it would be this iteration of Ren Sinclair, because she is definitely that type of character so far.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, we saw a brawl afterwards as well between Parker and Vice, and we saw Parker head back to the ring to demand a match, and she did not mix her language. This was a very hot start. Ava confirmed NXT Underground at Deadline, and Vice knocked out Parker with spinning back fist after the announcement. These two, Monty, man, like I said, we knew Julia. This is the pleasure of doing NXT Update. We knew Julia was going to work out, and obviously these other talents, but when you get kind of this going on as well, you're just like, it really does work, and two great characters.
Again, I think this is one of them situations where it's like some rosters, like AEW, for example, may have names that make you feel like, oh, no, that's the best women's division. That's some of the best women's wrestling in the world. And even on the main roster, you can say that, especially if you're just going off name. But when it comes off quality and focus and booking, where are we getting this type of angle with no belt involved? This is just a straight up competition base for the most part. We don't like each other feud from two women who are not in the championship picture at the moment, but probably after this, whoever wins or in this will probably be right back in either the world women's title, or if not the women's title, definitely looking for Fallon's belt at some point. So again, I just think we don't get that anywhere else. Like, we talk about it all the time. As good as I thought the women's division for AEW was becoming, when you think about some of the stories they told, getting this all the way down their card, their division, when it's not a women's title feud or something like that, that's non-existent in AEW. And then even on the main roster, hopefully going forward, we get more of a focus on people who are not champions, or we get more blood feuds over like the new U.S. and Intercontinental Championship for the women. But we've yet to see it, so it'll be great to see if they can kind of do what they're doing down in NXT, because there's nothing like it, in my opinion, right now in wrestling, as far as like just consistent good storytelling from angles that does not have to be centered around the champion. And I don't think we're losing quality. Like you mentioned, the Julia or the world title picture at this moment, very hot. but also what we mentioned with Fallon Henley and Gigi Dolan returning, and that whole faction war with Tatum Paxley. That's interesting, And then you have to take into account what we're getting right here. And then if you're into like the soap opera, if you're into the soap opera stuff, then you have what Nikita and Petrovic is doing. So you see what I'm saying? You just have a little bit of everything that you could ask for and it's all in the women's division. That is unprecedented. And I think NXT deserves credit for it.
Yeah, without doubt. One thing that needs to be sorted out is the tag team division, but we are going to get number one contender in the tag team battle royal. Fraser in action. Watch this closely. Tyson DuPont was the first man eliminated and shook hands with Hank afterwards. Even though he was taken out by Hank and Tank. I don't know. OTM threw Stacks out of the pile of men outside, causing the family to be the first team fully eliminated. They really don't want Stacks wrestling, do they? I told you this.
I knew you would notice that.
In the final six, Gallus and Hank and Tank were the only teams left fully representative. The chaos of this boiled down to 3 men in the final stretch, and Miles Bourne eliminated both Tank and Lucien Price in the same flurry of offense to win, even though I think Vic didn't notice the dropkick to begin with, but we'll let him off. Charlie Dempsey told NQCC that he was impressed. And again, it was a big night for them, and a big night, like we said, for, I just forgot their name, Miles Bourne. Oh, fucking hell. No Quarter Catch Crew.
Young Randy Orton and Tavian Heights.
Damn right. But again, was this the right choice?
Again, we talked about it. Like, this is definitely the biggest question mark area of NXT at this moment. And when you think about everybody left, I think this is definitely a good choice as far as freshness. Because I respect Gallus, but at this point, we all pretty much know that they're closer to an enhancement tag team than they are tag champions again, which is kind of crazy when you think about watching NXT UK, like you mentioned earlier or whatever. But so yeah, I don't mind that. And then Hank and Tank is also one of those people that I guess you can see something in, but as far as the future or as far as being prominent, a good tag team and just great talent, I do think Tavian Heights and Miles Bourne have something that they that they are ground to showcase. So I did not mind it. And I think once we get to the match, actually at Deadline, they also had an opportunity to show us what they could do against a really great tag team. Now, again, I don't know what Hank and Tank probably could hold their own too, but we would have to see that. But I just believe as far as out of those three team choices, I don't mind Miles Bourne and Tavion being the team to win. But like you mentioned, Jay, we definitely need more of a focus, or we need something more consistent, which I guess you kind of like something has to give when you do what I just mentioned with the women's division and you're giving so much energy and time. But I do wish we still had more of a down the line type of focus, whether it's in the ring or outside of the ring, on building up tag teams, and hopefully we can get that going forward. But this is a good start for Heights and Bourne.
Well, we don't need to worry about the men's division because Eric Bischoff is here to help. The Hall of Famer talked up both Trick Williams and Rich Holland for letting them speak. He compared NXT to WCW. Don't do that.
Why?
What? Why? I mean, last month, NXT stood in comparison to ECW.
ECW.
What's next? Tony Khan showing up and going, this is like AEW.
This is like AEW, right.
Talk about Ridge.
This reminds me of OVW. We just keep going.
And as they say, I don't want to throw shade, but Eric may have good hair, but his neck looks a mess. I'm just going to say that. I guess that's what happens when your head's been up Terry's ass most of the time for the last fucking 30 years, you know. Ridge is a wanker. It's just notes I'm reading. We saw Trick and Ridge going at it. Ridge hit Redeemer on the announce table, and Trick got stretchered out. Oh my god! It was everything I hated in the segment, Monty. I think it'd be fair
had to do the stretcher, just in case you didn't realize that Ridge Holland hurts people. let's throw the stretcher in there also. Man, the cameo made no sense because I didn't understand what Bischoff added to this that we needed. It's just like I feel like at this point, this is one of those situations where if you feel like you need to do all this to sell a match, then you probably shouldn't be having this title match. That's all. That's all I say. If this is the world title. This is the most important belt. If you have to do all of this in your estimation to try to build excitement for a title match, then I think even the booker kind of knows I'm doing my best here. So let's just throw everything I got at this and let's try to build something that people want to watch. Because if you're confident and you have a guy that is built up or respected enough as a contender, you don't have to do all this. And if you have a champion that's in a good enough position at the moment, which I do think Trick is kind of redeeming some of that steam, but he's definitely lost a lot of where he was at. But I just think this is not really helping, and I don't mind him, taking the finish. Or I'm not as bad down on the stretcher as you are, but I do think in this case, I don't think he needed to get wheeled out of there. Mostly because we get the point. Like literally, he had an ambulance match. He had another situation. Like we get it, and we know what the real life situation where that. Like he already like it shouldn't, in my opinion. A lot of things that they do just shows me that they're trying their best. But I just feel like this, you shouldn't have to do this for somebody who has the reputation as, or you're trying to reestablish or have this reputation in a way of a killer. And I just like a guy that's gonna pop up in a match that we talk about. They don't have to work hard at all to convince us that he's a killer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but
the thing
compared to this,
it's a Rocky
crazy.
analogy. Not to show my age, but and again, I wasn't
Right.
live when they were there. But like Ivan Drago or something like that from Rocky, man.
Right.
He didn't need to lay people out before because you knew he was a killer. That's the whole point of giants in wrestling. Like you said, of squash matches is you build them up to be a threat. You don't kind of do this. But we'll check in to see if Bischoff's appearance helped the ratings later on.
Yeah.
Carmen Petrovic beat Nikita Lyons. Adonis sent flowers to Petrovic, and Brindley Reese and Dion Lennox encouraged her to give her another chance. Of course, they're together because it's NXT. I mean, what the fucking hell, you know? Anyway, backstage, Spears promised to create a group better than the family. Yeah, that's going to be tough, isn't it? You just get a couple of fucking brooms. Do you know what I mean? Now. Anyway, he wished Gigi luck on the way to the ring. And then return to action, Gigi beat Izzy Dame. And then we got Javon Evans get a ringing endorsement from X-Pac because that's what you want in 2024. And then finally, the Men's Iron Survivor Challenge last qualifier. Axiom v. Eddie Thorpe versus Lexus King versus Cedric Alexander. Fraser stood in Axiom's corner. All Ego from Page joined commentary while Lee and the Young OG watched from the crowd. This was chaotic. Axiom hit Lexus King with a golden ratio. But Eddie Thorpe threw Axiom outside and stole the pinfall. Ava confirmed Trick versus Ridge is still on. Thorpe told Mr. Stone and Stevie Turner to give a message to Ava. He delivers with opportunities. If Ava doesn't show up at the next NXT in a net brace and a fucking, you know what I mean, arm in a sling, in a wheelchair, being pushed, like just sell it. Anyway. NXT ended with Perez running down the competitors and the Iron Survivor. So Ruka, Judy, Evaka, and Saraya headed to the ring. Prodigy reminded them they need to go through each of them before they got to her. A brawl broke out with Sinclair snuck in to attack Perez and raise the NXT Women's Championship above her head. And then we ended NXT with Eddie Thorpe being attacked. The silent attacker has had a busy couple of weeks. First Cora Jade, then Jey Uso, now, of course, Eddie Thorpe. I mean, could it be the person that Stone and Turner saw in their office? My guess, Von fucking Wagner. What do you think about that, Monty?
Oh, man. You know what? That might be the most interesting thing they got Von Wagner to do. Man, no, that would be special. Because, sometimes watching some of these segments, I kind of miss that idiot. You know what I mean? Some of these, it makes me wonder, Vaughn would have been perfect for this. But, again, this is like you mentioned. I think that was a great rundown of, like, basically the last, 40, 30 minutes of the show because It was insane, and things move at a pretty breakneck pace. And I thought they did a good job of trying to build a lot of suspense going into the show, and I think that's a good thing because if you're watching and you've been paying attention, it definitely did a good job of at least making you think about returning to see what happened, or at least watch if you're not going to return next week. You'll definitely at least try to. They tried to build up, so just why don't you check out Deadline so you can see if any of these questions that we left on the table get unanswered. I did think it was kind of funny to have Ren Sinclair, in the scenario. But at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? Go ahead, Ren. Why not? And I think it was cool. It was a good promo too from Roxanne. There, she's been doing a really good job as this arrogant, champion. And I think that's one thing I'll give her props in. But yeah, I mean, it's just a lot. I think that's the thing about this. Sometimes you wonder, is NXT giving us too much to consider at one time? And that's probably the only criticism I would say. But I do think it did a decent enough job of getting me excited for Deadline, even with all of that being said. Because, like I said, sometimes I do think they kind of overload us, but this was still good stuff going into the pay per view.
Yeah, right. And even like I said with the Eddie Thorpe stuff of qualifying them being attacked and the cliffhanger leading to Deadline. Again, the other cliffhanger being with Trick actually, make it. So again, the story does kind of make sense, But we'll just have a quick look to see if Bischoff helps the ratings. Let me have a look. Just tap on here.
Yeah, okay. Let me know.
No, it was the worst rating in a year. I guess this is the silverhead Eric Bischoff as opposed to kind of who we know. I think WWE won't learn their lesson, though, will they? We'll have Vince Russo showing up in 4 weeks.
Like I said, sometimes I think they just do instead of. This is when you realize that sometimes as a booker, you need somebody to just say, no, we don't have to do this. It's a good idea, or I like it as an idea, but maybe not this week. And I think that's one of the things. But it's like I mentioned, though, when you have to do all of that, you have to ask for all these cameos, for a world title feud. To me, it just kind of feels like a cheap way to still try to keep people interested because that, again, it's like Sean knows that he's asking a lot of people who don't really like Rich Holland, hey, man, bear with me. Hey, how about this? Eric Bischoff's here. What about this? ECW, whatever. So, some of it is fine, but when you realize it's a pattern, it's just like, and then you have something like that where Eric is not even helping, it's just like, oh, okay. Because, again, can you explain to me why he needed to be the one to say and do the things that he did? No. I mean, really, it didn't really add anything. They could have still did the stretcher or did the attack and all of that without Bischoff being involved. So I think when you have one of those situations and then you look at the results and be like, well, damn, we were doing decent. And then when Bischoff came, it's like a bunch of people say, oh, well, you know what I mean? Yeah. So
they went, fuck this.
Right.
The rating did pick up, I should say. Quick update from TNA. Monty, just to let you know, Jordan Grace is definitely leaving, all right? She dropped the title to Masha at Bound for Glory, lost a 2 out of 3 falls rematch, and then got pinned by Tasha Steelz. This is after she hadn't been pinned for 549 days. And then at the last TNA show, the worst thing to ever happen in wrestling happened. So Grace is on her way, basically. That's what we're saying, which is going to be interesting. So that is definitely happening, Monty. So that's another win. Yeah.
I'm going to say that is definitely a positive. I'm assuming for NXT, but I'm interested. I'm interested to see. Yeah, right. All right. I'm interested, man. Where, exactly, man. What do we do? Like, do you even waste time? Do you even need to do NXT? Or do you, do you go, to the, it's definitely the other suitors. You can. I'm assuming WWE is going to offer her something to where she won't even consider AEW. We'll see. You never know. But yeah, do we get a Royal Rumble appearance and then straight to the main roster? What do you? It's very interesting to see that. But yeah, Impact. I think she know her course. She gave him everything she could give him, and more if you ask me. was a pillar and one of the most interesting things about, like, even when I wasn't keeping, even though I don't always keep up with everything Impact, Jordan Grace was one of those things where I was like, oh, here go, oh, let me check this out, or she's doing this, or even the 2 out of 3 falls match, I actually got a chance to watch that with her and Masha, because her and Masha have a pretty good chemistry together.
Yeah.
So, that was a good match. So, again, I think she's awesome. We've already kind of got a chance to be blessed with her presence in NXT. She blends right in well, but at the same time, she also, to me, is ready. She's ready for, like a Rhea Ripley stare down on the Mania after Raw if you want, or, Raw after Mania if you wanted to, or something. Like, I wouldn't be opposed to any of that, because I think we all know that she's ready.
Yeah, without a doubt. So let's get on to NXT Deadline then. December 7th with a kickoff. Ava announced Eddie Thorpe is out and she has found a suitable replacement. We'll then get Megan Morant and Sam Roberts in studio. I should say, before skipping over it, that's probably the biggest news we've had on a kickoff in about 5 years. So, again.
That's a great point.
Anyway, Wesley knows what it's like. He tells Eddie he wouldn't have won anyway. Fraser and Axiom interviewed. Fraser's thinking about the Iron Survivor. Axiom said he will have to carry the team, and Fraser says he will give him everything he has. I forgot it was Parker that used the brick. All right, and more of me moaning later, Monty. But that's all I'm going to say. All right. Jada told Sam to shut up, and she's going to go knock out Lola. I'm not going to lie. I agree with her. She sat. We had a sit down with Ridge. Which didn't work. Soul was interrupted by Ethan Page. I did feel the chemistry between the two. She wants to snatch his soul as well, so he's in. He says Soul Ruka attacked Eddie. So maybe that's what happened. We don't know. I'm not saying he's sour. And then the main show. I mean, my first thought was, please let there be a huge knuckles behind Booker T. I was got please, but no Sonic characters, but a nice scarf. Not many people can pull off a scarf on commentary, but Booker can.
He's a legend, man. He's a legend. There's not much he can't do. It's not much he can't do. So it's funny to see. It's funny to think about, like, certain things, like the product placement or whatever. What are they going to try this week? That's what I come into some of these events looking at, especially for NXT, because it's always funny to notice something that's not there, that's not usually there or whatever. But yeah, man, it was good. Like you mentioned, Booker looked fly. He looked fly.
Yeah. I'm going to ignore the massive, like, the Barlow or Diablo or whatever it should be. I'm not going to learn because I skipped the adverts and I didn't look at the centre of the ring. So fuck you guys. Iron Survivor Challenge. John Evans versus Wesley versus Nate Fraser versus Ethan Page versus, well, we'll get to that. We saw Evans and Lee open the Iron Survivor with Fraser and Page following in that order. The final man was Obafemi, who, to say he changed the complexion of the match would be a bit of an understatement. When he arrived, everyone turned to watch him. Page threw Evans outside to face him first. Femi wiped out the young OG for a quick fall. Evans died onto the field and hit Lee with his springboard cutter for his first fall. Fraser Evans teamed up to take out Femi, but Page stacked him up for a pin. Evans caught Page with a crucifix pin, falls an all-ego into the penalty box with Femi, who destroyed him for a full minute. And he talk about what makes a good heel. Watch that. That's what makes a good babyface. And like I said, Femi looked like a killer. All 5 men picked up one fall, then tried to take out Oba. Evans and Page stole extra falls, but Femi finished it with a double chokeslam of Fraser and Lee to pick up 3 total wins. 3 total falls, and the win. Oh, Oba, how much I missed you. Monty, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, man, he's just different, man. If it's anybody, I know Roman did it, but if it's anybody who could just stack anybody in any multi-man match, I actually want that to be his gimmick in every multi-man match, just to stack the people, because that's the type of freight train, that's the type of dominance that he allows. It was he like you said, he changed the entire complexion, because before that, I thought between Wesley and Javon and the way they were kind of the pace that they kind of kept going, and it's kind of interesting with Wes Lee because again, I keep mentioning that as a heel and as one of those bad guys, to see Wes Lee he started off decent, but he kind of ended up just being what we kind of seen Wesley be for the most part of his career. And I think as a heel, it's kind of disappointing to see that he wasn't more of a threat to winning. Like it felt like Ethan Page and even maybe even the young OG had more of a chance of actually winning. I mean, obviously if you go by the score, but you know what I mean. Just even watching the match, Wesley seemed like he was behind Ethan Page, and I'm just like, oh, okay, so Wesley is not as high of a priority as a heel as I was thinking in my mind going into this, but again, once the mystery guy became Obafemi, I kind of knew my pick of if. Yeah, I figured. I'm like, yeah, Wesley ain't winning. As soon as I see Obafemi, I'm like, yeah, it's not happening. Because it's just like that's that guy. He's the guy, and it's just one of those situations where it was like, I don't see him not winning, but it was like if they do decide to go that route, what would be the way to do it? And it's just like that didn't matter because when he got in there, he was so dominant and he took over the match. He changed the entire style because it was fast paced, it was high flying at the beginning with Frazier and all of that. And then soon as Ethan Page slowed it down before that and made it a little bit more, a little more cerebral. But then Oba gets in, he just dominated. And the penalty box spot was just, man, that was the facial expressions from Ethan and just the idea of it was because like who wants to be locked? Who wants to be in a place like that with Obafemi, And of course he beats his ass the entire time he's in there. It was just like it was so enjoyable. That's one thing I'll say. I don't think it was anywhere near as good as the drama of Trick's comeback or even the first Iron Survivor match I remember was probably a little bit better than this. And like I said, Trick's comeback is probably the perfect way to do this match. But I don't think you can do that style of match. I don't really think you need to see that type of Iron Survivor match every year. So you're gonna have to find different creative ways to kind of outdo that type of match. And I thought this was really good, still entertaining. I gave it 4.25. It was really entertaining stuff. And Obafemi domination and just throwing guys around like I mentioned before. Sign me up for stuff like that anytime. And the Iron Survivor match, in my opinion, continues to be one of the best ideas. Like it might be the best modern match design that they've come, that a company or a promotion has come up with in recent time. And it's kind of cool that that's NXT's baby or calling card that they can put that feather in their cap that they came up with probably the best new concept.
Yeah, well, until the main roster next it in a couple of years' time.
Take
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. We had it with War Games.
Yeah.
But no, like you said, the concept itself, what I'd like to see, and I guess we are going to see it obviously different time, is like someone getting like 4 or 5 falls really early on and then having someone trying to catch up to that, rather than like 1s and 2s. But again,
right.
You can really work with a match. The crowd and the setup itself was a bit weird. It sounded quiet at the start. I'm sure. But again, I said the men's division needs help. But if we look at it, and we've kind of spoken about this before with Femi, with Trick, Obafemi, and then young OG, that seems to be the way. But I think we need, like we said, more talent coming through. Even though I think Fraser performed really well in this, even though he got his nose busted, didn't he, by I think Javon. But again, it's interesting to see that we might need a little bit more to cover.
He looked beat up, by the way, after that. He looked rough. I do think and that's the thing, that's the reason why I believe what we're saying about the tag division needs to help us out here. If we can get more focus or more of a if we don't need to rely on Fraxium to carry the tag division, then we can graduate those two to the world title picture, to possibly the North American title or past the North American title picture. And then you have Frazier, Axiom, Wesley, Javon, Oba, Trick, you know what I mean? Then you have a really good tier right there. And then it's all about developing the next level. Maybe you can get Charlie Dempsey or, then we get like a Noam Dar back and all of that. Then you have a more interesting male division altogether. But, until then, though, I do think right now Javon is definitely one of the shining stars. Obviously, Obafemi and Trick. And then, I think pretty much everybody in this match I can see being prominent members of NXT or being in that top ilk. and I thought this was a good match for a showcase of that. But I do think at the end of the day, the story of this match is kind of like where we are in the men's division, where it's Obafemi's world. Like Trick is the guy right now, but Obafemi is undeniable, and I think that's what I think that's a realization right now that everybody's gonna, if they haven't already came to. I haven't seen anybody say otherwise. Because if you don't like Obafemi, who would be dumb enough to express it?
Yeah, who would say
But
that out loud? Yeah,
yeah, who would be dumb enough to express it? But I think he showed in this match that it seems like right now is his division and his entire show right now for the taking.
And again, it's interesting. It just comes to my mind as well. Tony D, which again could be another thing of saying, look, I beat you before. Can we do it again? We are talking about future, but then again, I should say, people listening, maybe for the first time, when you have been doing it for this long, you don't just look. We do look quite far ahead in a weird way, but again, it's like the overarching picture. 4 1/4 for me as well. Like I said, good match. Predictions. Well, the Wnr Prediction League 2024. This is after the Survivor Series. Bonus League. Monty on 24. Gina and I on 15. Jaxie on 11. WWE Final. Monty 1 on 6. James Jr. on 5 with Jaxie on 3. And the AEW one, where we still life in the old dog yet. Jaxie, Monty on 4. I'm on 3. Gina on 2. We want Wesley, so we all got 0. Could we do predictions before? If we'd have done it when the show started, it would be...
it would have been completely different.
Yeah, it would have been different. Anyway, Lexus King says the city of Minneapolis leaves him with a pit in the bottom of his heart and explained why he continues to try and forge his own path despite the hiccups he's had to deal with. Well, don't go there then. But again, I just don't understand. But, oh well. Anyway, NXT Underground next. Lola Vice versus Jada Parker. And Parker landed the strongest first shot with a spinning back elbow. Vice missed a spinning back fist and a hand collided with a post, leaving her with an injury. Parker wrapped Vice's belt around her hand and used it to send her injured right hand into the post several times. And to her credit, Parker pushed Lola more than anyone else in the Underground. But someone forgot this wasn't her fucking standard match. It's obviously Vice's, wasn't it? Because she blasted Parker with a spinning back fist and made her pass out to the Anaconda Vice. Vice remains undefeated in Underground, solidifying this as her match. Monty, what are your thoughts on this? Go
on. I just think I saw a lot of people at the time who just couldn't get past the stipulation, and I just don't think that's really fair to these women because I thought they worked their asses off, man. They really brought it, and I thought, again, this is another. So again, I'm just so impressed with Jada because, you know, this is a stipulation that's kind of hard to make work, and I'm proud of both of them because they both did a good job of making this feel like, you know what, these girls are fighting like they really can't stand each other, and that's what you're looking for in a match like this. I think to make this match interesting, you have to bring a little bit more to the table to kind of let everybody know, oh no, they're not holding back. This is not just a regular match. You know, they're going at it, and I thought they did a great job of that. I thought Jada just she also brought some psychology to the game, which was impressive. And it was just cool. And like you mentioned, James, I didn't only pick this match because I figured it was like Lola Vice's thing. Because at the end of the day, she is a former MMA person. But, I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, besides the Eddie Thorpe one where they just were throwing each other on the floor, it was Eddie Thorpe versus, it was Dijak, right? It was Eddie Thorpe.
Dijak. Dijak had said Eddie Thorpe's a cunt. We should say.
Right. He mentioned that. Yeah, he mentioned. Don't forget, I told you, Eddie Thorpe was exactly a bad person. He was ahead of his time on that. So, but yeah, it was a great. I remember that one, and that might be the greatest one I've ever seen. But I do think if we're just going off having this as your go-to or having this as something that's yours, the Underground match is definitely becoming synonymous with Lola. And I thought about it. James, I'm glad you expressed earlier that you forgot about the brick shot because that was my whole entire logic for picking Lola. I was like, last time they fought, like she got hit in the face with a brick. I would hope.
I forgot who won, all right? It's New Japan's fault. It's a tag league's fault. I forgot.
And I was like, I would hope she would get revenge for getting hit in the face with a brick. So, yeah, man, this was good though, man. It was a nice blood feud that I'm assuming is probably over. I mean, but the beauty of it that, you know, they can always revisit and do that third contest down the line, maybe for a belt. I'm assuming it's over going forward now because I do think they've spent a lot of time just feuding with each other. So it'd be nice to see what Lola or what they decide to do next going into the new year. But this is a really good underground match. I saw some people who just seem to just kind of just like, oh, I'm not that interested in it, the style of it or whatever. But if you watch what they were doing, I thought they really did a great job. They gave it their all, and you can't really ask for much more because we talked about this before, James. This is one of the toughest matches, in my opinion, to have these MMA infused type matches or whatever. These matches where you're trying to give off the illusion of a real fight while at the same time still having a match. That's very hard to do. But for them to still be for them to be convincing, in my opinion, and at the same time, both people represent themselves well. I have to take my hat off to it. I gave it 4 stars. This was good.
Yeah. I mean, if the people ringside were from the WWE universe, my name is James Snackadoodle III. But I mean,
100%.
The only thing that can be said, maybe it's longer than needed because, again, with MMA fight or whatever it is, it might be over sooner. But again, that is something that they can get to. Like I said, both have got a really bright future. I gave that a 4 as well. Predictions, I forgot who used the brick. Jackson and I went for Parker. Gina and Monty went Lola. So Monty, Gina on 1, James and Jaxie on 0. Oh dear. Later, Lee and Evans got into a brawl after Young OG treated his loss too lightly, according to The Hill. Oh great, that's still going on. And backstage, Ethan Page said he didn't know what he would do next, losing such a close match once again. What the fuck, man? You've been here 4 months. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you think that's bad? Speak to Charlie Dempsey. He's not in a match for 5 updates. Jesus.
Oh my God! Yeah, it can be so much worse, man. That's a great point. It's a great point, man. Look at Josh Briggs. I don't even know if he still works there.
Anyway, NXT Tag Team titles next. Fraser and Axiom versus Miles Bourne and Tavian Heights. Fraser's nose and ribs were bandaged. I mean, to be fair, like you said, he was a mess. Fraser did start the match, but quickly needed to tag out. Nima and Price came out to watch the action because that's what they do. Heights suplex Fraser over the top onto OTM, which sent them away. Fraser sold the plane. He blasted both men with a somerset plancher, followed by a 450 splash on Heights that almost sealed the win. But no court catch crew hit a dropkick powerbomb combination on Fraser. Axiom had to break it up. He didn't accidentally dropkick Fraser. I mean, could the night get any worse for Nathan at this point? We saw an impressive DDT TKO combination, but he still managed to kick out. And Axiom managed to catch Heights with a Canadian Destroyer and then roll up Miles Bourne in a small package for free. I don't know how they did this, but Faction may be the greatest tag team that ever existed.
Yeah, I think honestly, I feel like that's what we just have. I think we have to take that into account. I think that is what we have to do. We have to take that into account and just be like, they are the greatest team. You said in history, but I'm not even going to argue with that. But definitely the greatest team in NXT history by far, man. At this point, and it's not even close to me at this point. It's been some great tandems. It's been some great moments, but their run and just the quality of it, and then even in this one, we talked about Julia earlier. You know, bringing someone to your level. Or elevating talent that's perceived or looked at as below you, and I just think this is another example of how at this point, I'm looking at the other team if they go out there and they screw up against Fraxium. I'm not looking at Fraxium because I just think that they're just so above and they're proven to be so much better than almost everyone else on the roster easily. And then when you take that into account as a team, and then you think about what they were able to get out of a Miles Bourne. I told you, Tavian Heights, he showed flashes of being excellent. And I think he did that again in this one. And I think his work in Noah is definitely a big proponent of that. But I also believe that at the same time, with that work and all of that he did, I didn't think Miles Bourne looked like he didn't belong. I thought he actually showed flashes also of the potential of seeing a little bit more of what we see in them, and I think that's what they need. That's what the catch crew They need more time in the ring. They need more showcasing moments. And the backstage segment have been good. They've been a great job of, making us look forward towards their interactions with Charlie Dempsey. But you want to see more. You want to see these guys showcase talent or in the ring that helps you understand why they are who they are, and I think or why they're even on our TV screens, so to speak. So I thought this was good. I thought it was a great showcase for the young team, and I thought once again Fraxium surviving. I mean, at this point, can I really be shocked? The only reason why I picked against them is because I just thought this would be a perfect opportunity for them to implode. But at this point, the way booking goes, we might have to go and wait for Stand and Deliver if we ever get it. If we ever get it to happen, it might have to be at a big moment. And maybe they want to build up Heights and Bourne more. But I do think Heights and Bourne showed in this match they would actually be a pretty good candidate to be that team that takes it off them unless someone else pops out of the woodwork that I'm not considering right now.
Yeah, I think without a doubt. Like I said, no court crap. Can't say. They're not quite ready yet. I'm not ready to pronounce their names yet either. So again, that's what we're saying.
That's why I just said the Catch Crew.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Really good stuff. Out of 5, I'm gonna give it. What am I gonna give it? 4.25. I give it. What did you score it, Monty? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I gave it a 4.
You a 4. Yeah. Predictions. Everyone all caught a catch. Everyone went Catch Crew. Apart from me.
Look at that.
Yeah, there you go. So it means Monty, Gina, and I are on a point, and Jaxie is on
We're doing
0.
a great job.
Oh, my God. We're the experts, man. You can tell, can't you? You can tell. Anyway, NXT Championship next. Trick Williams versus Ridge Holland. Trick came out with black tape on his neck. He did make the event, everybody, just in case people worry.
He survived.
He did show up, yeah. Holland talked to him before the match about the injury, and Ridge Holland thought he had Trick's number by focusing on the neck throughout the match. He threatened to hit the Redeemer on the announce table, but Trick sent him to the floor with a back body drop. Holland ducked Trick, and the champion got his neck trapped in the ropes. Trick did manage to kick out the Redeemer and then hit the Trick knee to win. All I'm going to say, Monty, is that this was better than expected.
But what does that say?
Yeah.
But what does that say about what we think about, Ridge and even Trick's ability to get something? Because I think it's unfair because I don't think Trick is at that stage yet. I think he's popular and I do think he's improved and he's good, but I do think Trick is still in that stage where, I don't know if he's in that stage where he could try to grab something out of another talent quite yet. I think he's still developing and trying to be able to elevate each match, elevate himself. So to put him in this situation, in my opinion, with Ridge Holland and then to have the match be put together in a sense, I think this match would have benefited from not necessarily being a no stipulation. Like I almost want to say like a non-stipulation match, a street fight or some sort of or something. I really do wish it was more, because they needed something, in my opinion, to make you care. Because the most interesting part of this match, and I don't like saying this, but the most interesting part of this match is Trick Williams almost getting caught up in the rope, and that's not good when an accident or something like that is really probably the most memorable thing that you can pull from a title match. You know what I mean? And thankfully, Trick Williams won, even though I did. By the way, I saw somebody say that they can't believe Ridge lost that. And I'm like, I can't believe somebody was rooting for Ridge Holland to be the champion.
What the fuck?
What the hell are you thinking? But anyway, besides that, that's fine. I just thought it was pretty cool, man, to get this over with. And that's not necessarily what you're looking for when you do this, when people are looking forward to the thing to be over. And I'm happy Trick is done with this. But I do understand that if you were disappointed for Ridge, you're probably looking at it from the perspective of, we made you a killer, we had you do this, we had you do that. So what is your ceiling, if there is a ceiling at all? Go ahead.
No, about to say, look, you're right. But the ceiling with Ridge, if the monster doesn't work, is this kind of dumb comedy character. But I don't know if that exists in this day and age in WWE.
Right, exactly. Like that just shows you that I don't know. I don't like saying I don't want anybody to lose their job or your days are numbered. But it is one of the situations where it's like, if we can't get this to work, where do we go? I will say this: I do think one pivot they can make is to help him, is to make him take out the Don or something like that, and then maybe he can build himself up through the North American title like we've seen Obafemi or some of these other guys do. But at the same time, he's not interested enough in the ring for me to even really suggest him to fight the Dom, because I don't know if that would even be interesting, to be honest. So I don't know, man. I don't know what you do with Ridge after this, but I do think that we're all happy that Trick Williams can move on. And what we're looking forward to now, which is a clash between probably the most charismatic and the biggest star in name value and Trick, and then possibly one of the biggest in literally stars in NXT with Obafemi. I'm very much looking forward to that, coming out of this. So yeah, I think that's probably the best thing. The best thing is we can move forward and see Trick versus Oba now, which is very, very interesting. They can go in so many different ways with that.
Well, I wouldn't mind seeing Oba versus Ridge, as long as Femi just fucks him up.
Like, yeah, you gotta kill him.
Drop him on his head, because the thing is with Ridge, I will say he will not be in WWE by the end of next year, because if he's not careful, he will do worse than he did to Big E. And it's just sometimes it's not you're doing it on purpose; it just doesn't click. And there's no kind of it to it. Speaking about
some people just have that. Some people just have that thing about them that, like, you're just so unlucky. Yeah. And you just can't get out of your own way.
Yeah, that's a word. But
I'm being nice. Let me be nice.
No, I doubt. Yeah, I would love to see Trick though in there with a veteran like The Miz. Do you know what I mean? Like a proper heel to see if they get Trick in there, or someone like an AJ. And I couldn't really think of who else at the moment who could, lead the way and get a great match out of it. We spoke about Axiom earlier, but do you know what I mean, or something like that.
I also think it would be interesting too. Right now, and we can talk about it once the Oba thing starts. I think it's time. I think unfortunately Trick has fallen victim to what happens to a lot of babyface characters who get themselves over. He don't talk as much trash. He's becoming a little bit bland to me, and I think the smart bet, if you don't think he's ready to move up, is to turn him heel.
Yeah, that will be interesting. So scores for this one, what are you going to give it?
I give it 3 3/4, because I do think they were trying to do something. I don't know what else you can really get out of Ridge at this point.
Yeah, no, I gave it 3.95. Predictions, we all went Trick, so it means it means Monty, Gina, and James are on 3, and Jaxie is on 1. What have we got next? We have got. I've literally got written down what I had just said there as well. So that's nice that I've repeated myself. Yeah. What's next? I was going to say what's next, and it was Ethan Page backstage talking. I go, we've done that. What are you talking about? We saw Roxanne Perez being told she would defend the NXT Women's Championship against the winner of the Iron Survivors on New Year's Evil. Tiffany Stratton T's getting involved because she's got nothing else to do at the moment, has she?
It is. It's always funny to me. It reminds me of Undertaker looking at Bobby Lashley for the ECW title when he won the Royal Rumble back in the day. It's like, come on, man. We know you're not fighting for the ECW title, Undertaker. And the same thing with Tiffany. It's cool to tease, but come on, man. You're not doing it.
So the main event, Iron Survivor Challenge, Julia versus Vince Sinclair versus Ruka versus Saraya versus Stephanie Vaquer. And Judy and Sinclair started this match on the mat, trying to pick up technical pinfalls early to get a quick advantage. So Ruka fit right in when she arrived. Saraya arrived to push all 3 women to team up to survive. Judy picked up the first pin with a Northern Lights bomb on Sinclair. Ruka caught both Judy and Saraya with the Soul Snatcher at the same time, but both rolled outside. Sinclair got out of the penalty box, only to walk right into a Soul Snatcher for a fall. That was well done. Judy and Ruka teamed up to powerbomb Saraya through the announce table in a great spot, and Stephanie Vaquer rolled in late, leading to pure chaos in the final 10 minutes. Saraya planted Judy with an F5 for her first fall. The remaining 3 women surrounded Saraya and sent her outside. We saw Julia and Stephanie tease confrontations multiple times before finally getting to the ring alone, and Julia won the first exchange with a double underhook superplex. Stephanie rolled up Sinclair with a leg trap to get her first fall with 2 minutes left. Sinclair trapped the arms of Ruka for a surprise pinfall with less than a minute, but it was a beautiful madness who hits Rye with a G trigger for the deciding second fall. Monty, this is just quality.
Yeah, and while I said the men's match probably wasn't one of the best, I do think this have a better case if you want to talk about the Iron Survivor in it. I do think this match had the better case for one of the best matches. It was really the most fun I had watching, and the show that night, it was just like you said, so much going on. It was but I also felt like it benefited from everybody being credible of winning it, even Ren. You know, and like even though Ren doesn't seem like she's on that level of a lot of the other ladies, I felt like with the way the match is put together and the time limit and all of that, you could have made a case or a convincing case. You know what? It makes sense. Ren winning this match is fine, and I think that's going to always make these matches that's dependent on intensifying as time goes on. It's going to always make those matches really, really fun. And this match was, again, like you mentioned, just top quality. It had a little bit of everything. It had encounters or a good tease of encounters that we've been waiting to see. It had great moments, funny moments, but it also had great technical and just great skill wrestling wise also. So, yeah, I don't know how you can come away from this match and not be impressed overall with everyone in a sense, to be honest. I mean, Ruka, the stuff that she's capable, the stuff that she can do, it's just not fair. Like to be able to do a buckshot or a 450 type of thing, like that's not right. Like you're not supposed to be able to do that, you know. And the Soul Snatcher moment was just well thought out and well executed. And I know there was a lot of effort put in to make everything work. And I have to commend everybody for being on time and just doing everything and everything going as planned. And Julia winning, the only reason why I picked against Julia mostly was because I saw everywhere that people picked Julia, and I just was like, I didn't have a problem with it. I was like, sure, I get it, but it was like more so of like, okay, but Julia kind of already had her shot one-on-one, even though she got screwed. So I'm thinking, well, maybe we'll get this. This is the monkey wrench type of deal, and we'll let Stephanie in there because Stephanie seemed to be going on the radar. But I also thought Stephanie didn't get pinned, so it was like they definitely still look at Stephanie as one of those, people who are right behind Julia as far as being number one contender. So I didn't come away disappointed at all, and I thought Julia winning the way she did was great. And this is just a really good match overall. And I just think it was one of those situations. And I wrote this, and I want you to answer this. So, like, them being last, I saw people saying or making statements that shows you where they view Trick or how bad. But I said that it either has more so to do with Ridge being in that match, and then also where the women's division is. So I'm thinking that if you just look at the way television is right now, this is the most anticipated thing of the night because of the way we watch NXT at this point. Like, tell me, like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, the women's division deserves this because they are the most interesting thing on NXT week to week.
But that was our problem with, Halloween Havoc, the fact that the tag team match that we look forward to the most was the middle of the card to give Trick a chance, in the main event. And again, it's, like you said, it's difficult, isn't it? Because we know how strong the women's division is. This is NXT telling us now with this matchup, not only who the ace is, but kind of who they are in the division. And like you said, with Sinclair and Sol Ruka in that. I mean, again, Sol, I'm not sure about the character, but she bounced around like a prime Rey Mysterio. Like, and
she's insane.
To be able to hit those spots.
It's not fair, bro. Like I said, some of the stuff that she's able to do it's insane. And you're 100% right. I think if there's any hole in that game, but when you can do stuff like that, I honestly don't know what else. I don't know what you could, like, that's what she needs, but like I can see her, like, bro, she gonna have a massive fan base if she's able to consistently keep pulling stuff like that off. Hopefully you don't have to do 450s every match, of course, but the things she's able to do, man, and
Yeah.
it's insane. It's insane.
Especially, like I said in this matchup, Zarya or Zarya, whatever you want to call her. Like, I just want to see her fuck everyone up,
Yes.
and I want her versus Jordan Grace at Stand and Deliver. That's
That'll be
what
great.
I want. That's what I want. Like I said, the match itself was great. And also, I thought it was interesting, Julia and Zarya, the pinning exchange between the two, just showing like there might be a little bit of beef coming out of that as well. Like you said, just everything here just worked really, really well. And I love the streamers at the end as well. It felt like an old...
Yes.
We haven't had that since like old takeovers. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Way back in the day. Yeah, man. It definitely gave it that takeover feel. And also, just, again, it added to the, like you said, to the moment of Julia being crowned and becoming the winner, and her emotion. She's always been, I think, again, I love Japanese wrestlers because they're just so good at displaying emotions, and you can just see it on her face, how happy and how good she seemed to feel about herself in that moment. It was just cool, man. It was really, really cool. And I think now it's interesting to see, where do you go when it comes to the title match? I mean, this isn't for Stand and Deliver. This is for New Year's Eve. Do we crown a new champion going into next year, or how do we go? How do we go about it? And what are the story beats going into that show? It's going to be very interesting to see. But I do think overall, this was a beautiful way to finish a pretty overall good show, in my opinion. To just showcase everybody here. And you got to see everybody's strong suits, and then it also told a good enough story to where I felt like the winner looks like they deserve that title shot.
Yeah, without a doubt. So I'm going to give it a 5. I don't know what you're going to score it.
Yeah, I gave it 5 too. I thought, again, like this is in that conversation with Trick's win. I think this is probably the best women's one we've seen, and I think this is really good, just across the board.
Yeah, there was a couple of things. Well, Booker saying it didn't matter who pinned Roxanne Perez was quite funny as the match progressed. and also another shocking thing as well, we talk about the women's division. Last year's winner. I mean, you know who that was off the top of your head?
Of the Iron Survivor?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I didn't know either.
I don't know. I don't know.
Blair Davenport. So it just shows you how much can change in a year.
Okay, yeah. A lot can change. There you go. A lot can change. Yeah, no, I don't remember.
Predictions. Well, you called it, Monty. You called it with me. So, I mean, come on. It's only a year ago. Anyway, predictions. Monty went Steph. Rest went Julia. So, final scores. Jaxie on 2. Monty on 3. Gina and James on 4. So the scores for the prediction league after deadline before Saturday night's main event. Monty's still on 24, Jackson on 11, and me and Gina tied on 16. I cannot. It's like a bad smell. I love you, Gina, but I just cannot get rid of you on this bonus league. So we'll find out what happens on Saturday night's main event. We'll treat it as a bonus. But overall for the show, well, I think the match, be fair to say, it was the main event, was the match of the night.
Mm-hmm.
And MVP again, I've got 2. So, Monty, who's your MVPs?
Again, I think it's safe to say definitely Julia is. Julia and May. I do want an honorable mention Sol Rucker, but she didn't get the victory. But Sol Rucker definitely looked great. But yeah, you have to go with Julia in my opinion. And then Obafemi to me, not just because they were both the winners. It's just he just changed the entire complexion of the way I look at the men's division. It's not a strong division, but when you got a guy like him towards the top of it, it just makes you still very excited for what's next to come. And I just think a lot of that got to do with just his aura overall.
Yeah, without doubt. My MVP is got to be Nathan Fraser. He went through hell.
100%.
2 matches, so he definitely gets my MVP. And also, like I said, Sol Rucker, a great performance there. So what would you score it out of 10 then, Monty?
I think it was a really good show. I don't think it was like excellent or like bangers all throughout the show. But it was a very strong takeover. I give it 8.25. I thought it was overall just like good across the board. I didn't think anything was bad or probably the most boring thing obviously was the Ridge Holland match. But I think the women's match, Iron Survivor, one of the strongest matches. If you're coming back for something, that's probably the thing you're definitely going to come back and watch. So yeah, 8.25.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 9.25. It's one of the best NXT shows in a while, and I think it's a great way to end the year to set up for the future. Speaking of the future, let's do the last NXT then, December 10th, and we got a dramatic video package highlighting the biggest moments from Deadline. Then we see Julia talking confidently about immediate future until Roxanne Perez interrupted. Cora Jade follow for a villain she laid out Vaquer backstage. The Prodigy and Jay tried to attack the Beautiful Madness, but Jordan arrived to even the odds and send the Hills into retreat. I was thinking about this, Monty. NXT might be one of the few shows that actually still does this. For the opening segment, sets up the main event. I know there's a lot of shows open long promos and whatever it is, but it's still good to see it in action, so to speak.
Yeah, I also think they did a good job, in my opinion, of continuing like literally where the last show left off. Like, I think this kind of it's really cool when your last show you watched was watching Julia come out on top, and then the first person you see come out to talk about it, it's like literally Julia, and she's basking in basically her celebration. I think that's just expertly done, and it's really cool when you think about it. And it just gives you a great cohesion, in my opinion, between shows. But you're 100% right. Giving you a decent promo segment, where the champion kind of, she mentions we've been here before and all that, but then, of course, the babyface wants to fight now. But yeah, it was a lot of little throwbacks in there. But I thought it was cool. I thought, like you said, set up a main event, and you can't go wrong with that because it's not just a opening promo segment. It's an opening promo segment that sets up what we're gonna see going forward. So yeah.
Yeah, and we see Lexis King request another Heritage Cup match. Charlie Dempsey accepted because, well, he needs to get paid for, actual wrestling at some point. OTM interrupted No Quarter Catch Crew, so that's not over. We then got Javon Evans versus Wes Lee, with Evans overcoming multiple cheap tactics, connected with the middle of the road to pick up another win. Wes Lee, man, have we got it? Have we got it wrong with him? Like, my God, since that turn, eh?
Yeah, man. I'm glad you stopped to even trying to expound on this, because as good as I thought this match was, I just have to say I've never seen a guy who, and I saw somebody blaming the haircut. I don't think the haircut helps, because he do look a little bit more just generic, and then now he's wearing trunks, and it's just, oh my goodness, it's like, come on, man, like what happened? What happened to a guy that I just thought had such a great trajectory? And I thought the turn would help. And he's not only is he not consistently on television, now he's a heel and he just loses. And it's just like, that's not what you want to see when someone turns and someone do what he did. I thought the Rascals business was good business because it was interesting. It was a great story beat along with the relationship that NXT seemed to have with Impact. But again, I just think it's disappointing when you just see him losing. And not that I don't mind him losing it is a young OG. I do see a bright future for Javon, but we know that, he doesn't necessarily, him losing to a guy like Wesley through some cheap tactics, it wouldn't be, I don't think anybody would be opposed to that ending either, but him losing once again and just seemingly to be further away from possibly being in the NXT title picture than you thought going into, like, he doesn't even seem, I thought he would be on Trick's list of opponents, and I don't even think he's on the radar right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. Backstage, my favourite segment of the week was Nathan Fraser and Axiom talking each other up. And Fraser told his partner he would make this right, and Axiom wasn't happy about Obafemi either. He said, no, I'm going to sort this out. So we saw them later. Axiom told Fraser he got a match with Obafemi next week, while Fraser got them an NXT Tag Team title match against Gareth. Shit. Communication is key, Monty.
Yeah, oh, my God. They are literally the best thing on television consistently now. Even the dynamics of their relationship now is becoming as interesting as their matches. So like when you mentioned that they were probably the best team of all time, or definitely the best NXT team of all time, stuff like this is why. Their singles matches are entertaining, their tag matches are great, and then the dynamic that they have is so unlike it. It's the reason why I do stuff like predicting wrong when they're going to turn, because you just never really know. They seem to work better when they're in trouble, but they also always seem to get each other in trouble. Even when you look at the nature of that first promo, they seem to be on the right page. They seem to be very complimentary of each other, and they still somehow screw each other over. It's just it's really unique, and I think whoever is coordinating what they're doing as a team, they're knocking it out of the park, man, because it's been great.
Yeah, I worry it's going to be over on the next update because there's only so long they can do this. But again, it shows you how good Fraser and Axiom are.
I hope the tag title match first, for their sake.
Yeah, well,
because I don't know if you can survive over Femi.
They stretch Axiom out to his match for the tag team titles, yeah. But we'll see what happens there. We got Hank and Tank defeating DuPont and Igwe by pinfall, and Igwe again refused to shake hands with Hank and Tank. Who cares? In the vignette, Josh Briggs talked about his M1 victory experience and his growing relationship with Yoshiki Inamura, who promised chaos in NXT. He might not have his work visa yet. That's why I've not seen him. I don't know.
Briggs is still alive.
Yeah. Remember when we thought they were going to book him strong on his return? Oh, my word. Anyway, Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson interrupted Zarya and Ruka in the locker room, mocking their loss in the Women's Iron Survivor Challenge. Can anybody say tag team match? I do love it when they do. I don't know, but again, it's funny, isn't it? Like, you just see this in the locker room, and you're just like, oh my God, you've just set up the next 3 weeks of programming. Over Femi called out Trick Williams, who arrived with confidence. Eddie Thorpe then interrupted the champion to call him out, the ruler, for attacking him. Femi refused to take credit for the attack. I like the fact he didn't take credit. He's like, it's a good attack, but it's not me.
Right.
I mean, I would have done better.
You casting accusations and stuff. But then he was like, he said, nobody will hit you with that power. And O was like, thank you for the compliment.
Yeah, Femi like, I'll kill you. Trick shifted the focus to New Year's Evil. The ruler said he allowed the Whoop That Trick era and would take the NXT Championship easily. I'm not arguing, you know.
Do you know how badass he is? Because I'm sitting there and I love Trick as much as anybody, and I'm sitting there like, can you really argue with that man about that? Like, no, I can't. Nobody can even say he was wrong. Like, can anybody say that he did not allow Trick to be who he is right now by just choosing not to focus on Trick? Like, that's how badass he is.
But again, it's like the Gunther thing of like, Ober's like, I'll let you do this and just become the greatest North American champion of all time. And then when I'm ready, I will come and get that championship. Thorpe demanded a title shot for the injustice he'd face, and Trick agreed to give him to it next week. Because why not, I suppose, you know?
He annoyed him into it. He annoyed him into it pretty much.
No. He ran down Trick as a lesser champion. Did not train the same Japanese dojos as he did. And then we got even... I'll leave the big announcement for the end of the show. We then see Izzy Dane warn Gigi Dolan on the way to ring. She was not done with her. Sean Spears tried to recruit Dane, but she wasn't interested. Who would
Smart
be?
So far. Stay away.
Yeah. Stay away. Influence. Chasey Chain and Jasmine Nix versus Dolan and Paxley. Henley made her presence felt, leading Tate and Paxley isolated for the discus punch to seal the win. Yes, nice boots. Yes, no, I wonder what you said there, but afterwards, Fatal Influence attacked Paxley and Gigi Dolan until Shotzi arrived to even the odds. And speaking of, we should say, boots, she had their faces on her, you know.
Yeah.
But,
on her, yeah.
But didn't we mention this as a group, like, last update? I'm sure
Bro,
we
like,
did.
I don't know what was going on, but I know specifically we mentioned Shotzi and Gigi. They would be perfect with her. So Yeah, thanks for listening, Sean. You know, whatever, but yeah, it fits, bro. And guess what? She knew that she definitely knew about this because not only did Tatum make a doll with green hair, I don't know if you noticed that in the early segment. Also, like you mentioned, she had enough time to get the gear ready with their
Yeah.
faces right where the eyes seem to drift sometimes. So yeah, man, this is cool, man. It was great to see Shotzi, by the way. Nice big knee brace. So it's good. I think this is a great vehicle for her to get back in the swing of things down in NXT. Who knows how long it'll last with the transfer and all of that. We don't know, what's gonna happen. But I do think coming back to NXT is perfect for somebody like her because not only was she was a different vibe altogether on NXT. It's just a great place, in my opinion, for her to pick up the pieces and possibly build some momentum going to the main roster at some point. Because I assume she will be back on Raw or SmackDown within the next year. I doubt this is like a Baron Corbin run, but you never know. It might be one. But still, it's good to see her.
I don't know about you, but I worry about the fucking team name. Like, I'm thinking to myself, what are they gonna? What's it gonna be called next week? Who knows?
It's a great point. Something with balls, probably though. Definitely might be ballsy.
Look at that. Backstage, Ethan Page was sulking until Tony D offered him a North American Championship match because Tony D is Santa Claus and he goes around offering title matches to depressed people. So, I mean, what can we say? Page did not look himself throughout the match and fell to a spine buster. He could not even manage a signature smile for his entrance. And after the loss, he looked crestfallen. He questioned if this was truly all ego, called himself lost and ashamed. I mean, if this is just going for him just to turn or, to swerve us, fair enough. But I was thinking I would love it. And again, this is just fantasy booking. Get Josh Alexander.
There you go.
Reform the North. Go for the tag titles. There you go. That's your answer.
There we go, man. I think he lost, like you said, he kept saying he lost his way, and I think that's a great callback there. I know I'm hearing he's if not already available, he's becoming available. I've been a proponent of WWE investing and trying to get a guy like a Josh Alexander in NXT. Even when they were working with Impact, I thought it was a good idea. So especially if they can get him to sign, I think it'll be a great moment and a great little callback to their team. Like I said, rejoin the North. And then, like you said, we can immediately start looking at the tag division. And now we have a nice little match, in my opinion, to start things off and possibly, like you said, they can possibly become new tag champs or whatever. But yeah, the whole lost his way type of thing, like you said, it's either going to end up with him swerving us and going back to getting his ego. It can go that way. It can go bum ass Baron Corbin way.
Yeah. Could you got Lexus King doing the same thing as well?
And that's the interesting thing. It's like Lexus is still in the midst of doing his. I guess we just got to go ahead and say he's turned over the new leaf now. I guess I don't because if he swerves us now, I'm gonna be like, all right, man, we've been waiting for like 8 weeks, Lexus, for you to swerve.
We're still waiting for Duke Hudson, to be fair. So Sean does do this to us, sometimes.
He love it, but we'll see. We'll see how this go. But I'm just like you, man. I think I literally thought about the exact same thing. Reform the North. Make that be a payoff to what we're getting in. But it'll be interesting to see what the actual payoff is.
Yeah, without doubt. Judy was incensed coming out the trainer's room where Stephanie was still recovering. Jordan translated her anger into focusing on winning the main event, which was Perez and Jade versus Julia and Jordan. And Perez and Jade attacked Julia during her entrance. They were busy tonight. I'm not going to lie. They were out there trying to get everybody. Jordan had to run out early to make the save. We got a wild, chaotic match. Perez planted Jordan with a pop rocks outside with Judy and eventually brawled to the back where Jade planted the finisher for the win. And actually looked around and went like, where is Rocks? But this, again, was a fun match and showing how strong the women's division is. And, again, main event, another show.
Yeah, man. Again, like you said, that is the main focus. As great as that Overfemi Trick Williams segment was, and I'm definitely excited to where we possibly could go down the line in that retrospect. I do think, that this is just like you said, another showcase of just why this is the number one division in wrestling, and also the number one division, the number one focus on NXT. It's very interesting, and then I think the champs team with Jade being able to pull out the victory makes a lot of sense here. And then also what we had happen after with Stephanie, I mean, looking so badass, making her, kind of coming back to the same night from the attack with the bat or whatever. Is that a bat or like a black kendo stick? What is it?
It's a kendo, yeah. Stephanie.
Okay, it's a kendo stick.
Yeah,
okay.
She returned after, like I said, attacked Jade and snapped the kendo stick.
Gotcha.
And then ran into the crowd.
But yeah, she looked awesome as she always does, and just so badass. So I'm assuming that maybe on that same January card that we might get Stephanie versus Cora the same night, and then you can have or they do that match the week before or something. But I'm expecting something to kind of maybe deal with the numbers game, because obviously the numbers game played a factor in the first title match. So it'd be interesting to see how they decide to do that, or what they decide to do going into that match. But yeah, man, like you said, it was deserving, good match here to finish up the show. But looking forward, man, I can't be opposed to where we go. I mean, look at our number one contenders, man, Obafemi and Julia, against our established champions that we've kind of become accustomed to with Trick and Roxanne. I mean, you can't really complain at all.
Not at all. Like I said, really good end to NXT and the update. But the episode did end on a bit of a shocker, as Eddie Thorpe signed his contract with Ava. And Ava congratulated him. And Eddie and Ava said, well, we haven't actually called the person that attacked you. And he goes, you don't need to. It was me. I thought rather than fight for 25 minutes, I'll get a title shot like this. But he had signed the contract. So it
said
was
it
fine.
Right after he signed. So it's very smart.
I mean,
slide devil, you sir.
Again, yeah. I mean, did we think Eddie Thorpe would have probably one of the best moves of 2024?
Right. What is it? I do say this though. This proves my theory right, because like you mentioned, you've been having this mystery attacker, and like for example, on the latest SmackDown, Nick Aldis continues to maintain that we don't have any information on what happened to Jade. We don't know what could have, you know what I mean. So this proves my theory. We have no cameras backstage apparently anymore at all. Like no like security cameras at all, because
you wouldn't want that in NXT. It'd be like Pornhub.
That's a great point. We obviously, we probably shouldn't have it there, but I'm just saying. They keep saying they're investigating. I'm like, how are you investigating? You can't be running the tape back, because you would have saw Eddie Thorpe lay down on the ground for the cameraman to find him or whatever.
Nicole just going, was it you? No.
Right.
Was it you? No. Was it you?
Like,
no.
what is this?
I'm investigating.
Like, is that the investigation? Like they said, is that what we did? Like you said, we did see Nick Aldis literally ask Nia Jax, like, if I find out it was you, and it's just like, she could just lie. Can you actually investigate? Like, stop using that word if you just gonna walk around asking people to be honest with you. That's not an investigation. It's more to it. But anyway, like you said, I did think it was a clever way to get us here in this situation. It was very funny, but if I'm everybody else, like, man, I'm just sitting back. I'm Nathan Frazier, Wesley, and Javon. I'm just like, wow. Like I got my ass whooped by Obafemi for nothing. Just for him to get a title shot next week. It's, like, that's the one thing about it. But yeah, it was very interesting though. I will say that it was a very interesting way to do it. I give him props. Like, he definitely looked ahead of the game the way he kind of did that and executed. It was really smart.
Yeah, without a doubt. So that is basically it. I mean, again, we've done this together for a long time. I've done NXT for 10 years now, and I really do think, when we look back on NXT this year, it's really pivotal to see the kind of change in where it's kind of gone, with the move to the new network, the more focus now, like I said, on the women's division. As we mentioned before, there's other things missing, but Obafemi and Julia are next in line. It can't be too bad. So I want to get your thoughts on NXT this year, and again, the hopes for 2025, because I've already laid out the stand and deliver. Like I said, Grace and Zariah. We can have Stephanie versus Julia there as well. Maybe Oba versus, well, fuck knows. I mean, again, if they start bringing in people like Penta or Ricky Starks or whoever else is there, then again NXT changes yet again, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. You gotta be optimistic for the future because it's a lot of they seem to be in this new era of NXT post only focusing on like the athletes. I mean, hell, we even got Evander Holyfield's son right now down in NXT getting ready, and he seemed to be having a potential. A famous boxer over here. So his son is showing that he's down there. So like they're still focusing on great athletes and all of that, but they're also seeming to pepper in being more aggressive on the free agent market for, like you said, people like Ricky Starks and Penta and all of that. So we'll see. We'll see. Like, cause like again, the beautiful thing about it, I think this year is a great example of it, of just how the landscape can change in NXT. Really, really fast. Like, let's also keep in mind that the way the last few drafts have went, Sean, or the way NXT, the way Sean books do not seem to be in line all the time with who possibly could be getting drafted and sent up, sent to Raw SmackDown. So it's always interesting to see, like you said, what could be completely different when we're looking at this next year around this time. But I think right now NXT is in a really positive place, and I just think they're doing that. This is one thing I say. Black and Gold era was excellent. It was nothing like it at the time on that scale, or at least getting those eyeballs. Like you could say Ring of Honor was doing some of the best wrestling in the world also, but it also just wasn't getting that attention. And same thing with with Japanese or New Japan and all that. So, but I think NXT is finding themselves back in that same boat, in my opinion, of doing stuff that I don't think the rest of the wrestling world is doing the same way, and that is this intense focus on the women's division and just building it up in many different ways. You have women in faction, you have women standing alone, you have women chasing championships, you have women who are champions, you have women, who are just involved in almost every facet of the show, and I just think I can't commend them enough for doubling down and just kind of working on focusing on that. Maybe that is due to knowing that the men's division is not as deep as they wanted, or knowing that the tag division is not as deep as they want. And I do think those areas still need work. But when you do have an area that may not be your strong suit, I do think it's smart, in my opinion, to focus on your strong points while you are trying to build out, like we mentioned, while you're trying to acquire more male talent or acquire this or that, and develop male talent, so you can have divisions loaded, up and down the roster. So I think where we are right now, we're gonna look back and just be like, maybe, who knows, by the end of next year, we'll look back in NXT's women division and just see a big chunk of them maybe on Raw or SmackDown, and think back to like how loaded we were and how special this time was. And I think that's kind of like the way I kind of think about them overall right now. Is it perfect? No, no. NXT has not been perfect, but I do think it's been quality wrestling and quality storytelling from a week to week basis all year, and it's only seemed to get. It has down periods, but it's also had some very very fun moments, and it has its heights too. And I think at the end of the day, you can't really ask for much more, especially when you think about the ups and downs that we've been through just in the 4 years me and you have covered it together.
Yeah.
Not to mention the entire 10-year run that they've had. So it's been incredible to kind of watch this happen, because again, I feel like when you're doing something, like some people can look at this and be like, well, why are you doing this and why are you doing that? But I think to double down, do something that no other people are not doing is really cool in this day and age, because it makes me want to seek it out week to week, because I know at the end of the day, I'm getting a focus on the women's division that's just not being done consistently anywhere else, even on the main roster.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And again, whatever we call this, if it's a platinum, time or whether it's for
Yeah.
NXT, then like I said, we make the most of it. Because again, like we said last year, we had Ilya Dragunov, Mello, and Trick, for the NXT title. The women's division didn't look great, like we talked about with Blair Davenport. Now a year
Right.
later, we've got, like you said, the
The
division is
women's
stacked.
division might be last at Stand and Deliver. That might, depending on what we have. I mean, of course, if it's over Fimby, depending on I don't know who the male would be at this moment, but like at this moment right now, if we're booking Stand and Deliver, Roxanne or Julia and Stephanie, they might be last.
Yeah. Now,
That might be the main event.
I completely agree, and I think that is the bigger match. The first meeting between Trick and Oba is big, but I think the first meeting between Stephanie and Julia is going to be massive. And again, like we talk about back in the day of your Oscars and your Nikki Crosses and your Io Skies and people like that, I think we will see it. And again, it's just incredible that we're going to be together for the ride. Like whatever happens, even with New Year's Evil, we're going to start the year hot.
I agree, and I'm really looking forward to it. As a big Trick Williams fan, my only hope of him even surviving New Year's Evil is he turned heel. So let's just say I said it. If he end up dick kicking Obafemi for the win or something a couple of times, I'm just saying. I told you guys that when he dick kicked him and do a trick knee, but he also could just get destroyed, and I wouldn't even be mad because that's where Obafemi is, and at this point, he is just a rising tide that you just got to get out the way of. And he's inevitable. I think that's the thing about it. So it's like, if Trick does survive, I think he's just going to be doing just that until we get to that moment when Oba is standing over him. So it's really interesting, man. I can't wait. Like you said, it's cool, and I'm excited to be right next to you, like you said, going forward.
Without doubt. I will say, it'd be quite funny if Trick does kick Oba low. And it has no effect, and it's
like, don't work.
A cup. And Oba's like, "What's a cup?"
Oh my god! Then you just can't stop him.
He is inevitable. That is it. Don't forget, we're across all social media. X at the Wnr Podcast. I'm at the Wnr Pod James. You can find the entire Wnr team on the banner. Also now on Blue Sky, Wnr Podcast, and Reddit. Monty, where can people find you?
At MyMontyPod on Twitter.
And the WNR also on Facebook and Instagram across all Google platforms. Send us an email to WNRpodcast@gmail.com. YouTube podcast goes up at the same time on YouTube as do SoundCloud on your phone. Also Spotify and iTunes where you can download, subscribe, rate and review there. So that's it. Our next episode is incredibly the 10th annual WNR Awards. The 10th annual. How did we get there? It is scary. And also, we will review Saturday night's main event as well. But until then, I've been James Rowlands, and I was joined by the mind of Monty. Monty, thank you very much for joining me. And like I said, we're only just getting started.
Yeah, always fun. Always fun. The 10th annual, that is insane. That is insane. Congratulations before we even get there. That is insane. But, always fun, and I'm looking forward to, talking more wrestling, man, as always.
Yeah, shout out to that. Well, thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.